Hello, everyone. I'm here with an interview with Adrian Segovia, who is fighting his third professional fight this weekend at Combate Global, USA versus Mexico, Parte Dos. Adrian, how is fight week going? How is the weight cut going? How are you doing?
Thank you for having me, first of all, and everything's going good. 5 weeks going smooth, weight cut's going smooth. This is my third pro fight, but I mean I've had six amateur fights before this, so I mean I kind of already know what to expect with the weight cut and everything. Just a little by little process. We'll get into probably like the hard cut on Thursday, maybe Friday morning too, and then weigh-ins, and then we're good.
hmm So you've only been a pro since last year. You got your two first pro wins, but obviously you've been an amateur starting 2021. So let's go back in time. What got you into the sport? I mean, I heard in the other interview that you've been doing this since you were like 10. You've been doing judo, you've been doing wrestling. So like, but what made you want to start? Like, where was your first gym? What made you want to start? Like, was there a person? That sort of thing.
Originally I started doing jujitsu and wrestling and judo when I was 9 years old. And then I did that all the way. I didn't like I was doing that all the way through middle school. And then high school came, I started wrestling. And then after wrestling in high school, I did a couple years at community college. And then when I was getting ready to start my second year is when COVID happened. So I kind of put like a halt to things, put a halt to the season. And I was just kind of like bored. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna just kind of just work, and then
hmm
I'll continue school after COVID because the online stuff wasn't really like my thing. And then it just felt kind of like life was like mundane. Like every day I wake up, work, and then just kind of like that's all I really did. And I was working like midday shifts. So it was like 1 to 1, and it's just like your whole day's gone. And I was just kind of I would sit there on like the computer, and I was just kind of like, man, is this really my life? So then I called one of my friends from wrestling, and I saw he was training at a gym. I was like, hey, I want to like stop by, like I want to stop by tomorrow. He's like, all right, well, just come on by. And that was where I met Antonio, you know. And then I would work at 1, and then practice would be from like 10:30 to like 12:30. And then I would have to get home in that time, shower, rush to work. And it was like every day, every day, every
hmm
day. And it felt like that was like out of everything I was doing, that's like what gave me a purpose. And then it got to a time where after like a couple months at the gym,
hmm
um, it's work would get like hectic. It's like it's tiring working from like 1 to 1, and then like you train, you're tired, you're too tired for work, and then you just feel like shit. And then I stopped going for maybe about like a good month, and I came back, and then Tony was like, "Hey, I booked a fight for you, so you can like you can stay in the gym." Like, dude, I haven't been here for like a month. What do you mean you got me like a fight? Yeah, like you have exactly 4 weeks to like get ready. And I was just like, fuck, all right. And then, man, I remember I was like super nervous. Like, so this is like your first fight. You don't really know what to like expect. Like, you can do all the grappling tournaments, all the
Yeah.
boxing scrimmages, everything. There's no feeling like being like the first time locked in a cage. And I remember I was like, you know what? Here goes nothing. And, it worked out good. And ever since then, I haven't looked back.
Yeah, first round rear naked choke in your first ever fight. Um, you were on a pretty interesting card. I'm looking
Mhm.
at this now, some very interesting names like Raja Jackson. We won't speak about that, but like Christopher Alvidrez, um, even Robin Shantigrol. Like this is a pretty interesting card. So what was like you fought your first five pro amateur fights in this thing called Knockout Fight League, Knockout MMA. What was
Mhm.
the relationship with the gym like? Was it like do a lot of fighters at that time, did a lot of fighters from your gym participate in this or something like that? Were you main eventing? What was your relationship with like that promotion?
Yeah, so the promoter Tracy Hess, he was kind of like a friend
hmm
of like I think it was like a friend of a friend of like the coach, and that was his promotion. And I just kind of fought there for like 4 or 5 fights. It was good. I didn't really have like much say of like the matchups. I would just like it was just more like, all right, they send me a guy, they have a spot on the card, they're like, oh, we have this
hmm
guy. I'm like, all right, like just like take it. I don't know, you can like say yes to no, or like oh, this is what I want. So like they would just give me guys. I'm like, fuck it, like let's do it. And then it wasn't until like my um after my fifth fight, I was supposed to fight one more time at Knockout Promotions, but the event got postponed.
Okay.
And then I was in like a little hiatus, and then Sparstar called me. They're like,
Yeah.
"Hey, um, you're the number one contender for the 155 belt. Do you want the title fight?" I'm like, "Yeah, like let's do it." And then I took that fight there, and that was like my first real big like audience. Like I mean, like doing jujitsu and like wrestling as a kid, you're gonna be like in big shows and stuff. But
Hmm.
this is the first time like a big like fight card, like it was
Yeah.
pretty stacked. It was like 18 fights, I think. I remember like I didn't even fight till like 11 o'clock at night, like 11:30, with like 3,000, 4,000 people like in the crowd.
Yeah, that's another. There's some good names on this card as well, like Hamza Trad and Amin Derek Sean. But yeah, so you beat another first round submission for it was what the California State Amateur
Mhm.
Championship, right?
California,
It
yeah.
doesn't have that on Tapology, but I remember seeing that somewhere else. So you go to 6-0 as an amateur in 2024 of May. You don't fight until March 22nd in 2025. So what was that? Was that, I mean, you were scheduled to fight Quest Truxton, but what was sort of the, so that's May to December though still. So what was like it, were you, did you know that you were going to go pro and like it was time to like get ready for that, or what, why was there a bit of that hiatus and then what was the choice to go pro?
The choice was always to go pro after I get the state title.
Okay.
That was my coach's decision. He's like, "Look, after you get that belt, we're going pro right away. Like, there's no
Hmm.
point. Sparta
Yeah.
had a couple guys lined up for title defenses, and even I was like, "Look, I'm 6-0. Like I'm ready to start making money doing this. Like, what's the title defense gonna do for me at the amateur level? Like, it
Hmm.
felt like at this point." And then I remember like maybe like a couple weeks after my fight, a month, I got a pretty serious injury. I had to take like 2 months off, and then we decided that it's like, all right, everything's good now. That's time to go pro. And then I was scheduled to fight Quest, and Wayans came. I was like, all right, you know what? Like this is like our first time going down to like. So the plan was always to fight amateur 55 and then go pro 45. And this was like my first real like weight cut to go down there. I
Hmm.
thought I was like, all right, you know what? It's gonna be kind of similar. But one thing I didn't like kind of one thing I underestimated is that like the lower you go, the harder it gets to kind of like make it. You can't do those like drastic cuts. And I remember I showed up at weigh-ins. I showed up like the last like maybe like 20 minutes the scales open. I was like the last person there. Everyone's already
Okay.
gone. I was like just cutting all day. And then I get there and I was like 148. And then
Mm.
he's like, nah, I don't want to fight. I'm canceling the bout. So then yeah, there's like that. And then I had like a knee injury also. So there's a bit of hiatus. I was just trying to like it was kind of frustrating. I was trying to pay back everybody for their tickets and then pay the
Hmm.
promotion back for everything being missed. That and it was just kind of it was a really rough time, especially at the end of the year. And it was on my birthday too that happened.
Uh,
So that's like horrible. And
yeah.
it's like, like I'm trying to pay everybody back, like I don't like all the money I was supposed to make for the fight was supposed to cover a lot of things, but it's like it just kind of like it was gone. There was no show money, no nothing, no ticket money, anything. So I took some time off, just kind of get my head right again and to heal my knee a little bit.
Hmm.
And then around like February, I'm like, you know what, I'm good now. Like I'm good, I'm ready to fight. And we got that fight in March.
Yeah. So you fight Jacob Sandin, you win by decision. So lights out gives you another chance. Was that sort of like they weren't upset or anything when you missed weight at first? They were just more like what was that conversation like in December? Was it like, you still have a chance in this organization, or was it like, or did it take, some convincing, or was it, yeah.
They just gave me another chance. I
Okay.
showed up at weigh-ins. I remember like I missed like it was just kind of everyone's like fuck, like
Hmm.
I missed by 2 pounds. I remember we are cutting like all day. We did our best. Literally until like the scale was about to close and like
Yeah.
and I weighed in, I missed, and they're like, you know what, just right now the important thing is just to rehydrate and originally he said yes. He's like, all right, let's do it. Well, just don't come over at 160. I'm like, all right. So then on the way home, I was driving home and I get a call from my coach. He's like, hey, he doesn't want to take the fight anymore. And I mean, they were pretty upset, but they gave me another chance. They gave me someone probably a little bit tougher than him coming into a pro debut. If you look at like Jacob Sandlin's amateur record compared to Quest, he's a bit
Yeah.
better. And yeah, that fight camp. It was pretty tough too. It had some adversity, a little bit of injury still. Didn't really like heal all the way going into that. That was pretty tough. And
Mhm.
yeah, they were just kind of like, all right, we'll give you another chance.
So you beat Jacob, and then you fight pretty soon after. I mean, March to June. So only about
Mm.
a little less than 3 months. You fight Shane Stepanich, who you beat by your first professional submission. What was that like? Was that like a quick turnaround? Did it feel like a quick turnaround, or did it feel like the right turnaround?
It felt like the right turnaround. It was a bit quick.
Hmm.
It was a bit quick, but I mean, I was ready. I
Yeah.
didn't really stop training, everything like that. And yeah, it felt good. I felt really good going to that camp. We just pretty much just like a level up above that. We just kept building on like what we did in March, and
Hmm.
everything was good.
Okay, so now you obviously are fighting this weekend at Combate Global. You're fighting a guy who, compared to the other two guys, has a bigger record, has a more experienced record, and has fought for the promotion as well. Um, Obviously, this guy's fought not in America mostly, so you could argue that American regional promotions are a bit tougher and more organized, but that doesn't really mean much. We're talking about a guy with two finishes and two decisions. So you talked a little bit about it in your other interview, but what about this guy, like, do you guys know about, and what is you don't have to tell the game plan, but what are you going to go in there and do? You're going to go and take him down, or you're going to go and try to fight him on the feet?
Um, he's tough. I've seen a couple of his fights. He's tough. I've also seen his record. I've seen the people. I don't think he's really fought even like from my comparing my amateur fights and pro fights to his guys. I don't really think he's fought like the same caliber opponents. Um, and I'm just really excited to go in there and just kind of show what I've been working on. It's been like 10, 11 months since I last been in there, and I haven't stopped training. I've been training the whole time, working on new things, and I'm really just excited to show everybody how like my game has evolved the whole time. My first fight I was just a wrestler. Second fight I was
Mhm.
just striking. This fight I want to be a lot more technical and surgical. That's my game plan.
So we haven't talked about it yet, but you train at a Team Body Shop MMA in Lakewood, California, obviously ran by AJ and Antonio Mckee. AJ, with his fight coming up in June, as you told me, you are the main sparring and training partner for AJ. So how does this help you prepare for your fights? How does this help you get into the right mindset for these fights, even though that this guy AJ is literally fighting on one of the biggest stages possible, but like you're the one that's fighting, on Combate, but you're the guy that's helping him prepare. Like, how does this help you? How has this made you like a better fighter? And just explain a little bit what that's been like working with AJ.
And me and AJ, we fight at the same weight class,
Hmm.
45. Right now I went up to like, right now we're doing a catchweight bout, but we are both our main weight classes are 145. And I don't think anybody at 145 pounds is faster, slicker, or craftier than he is. He'll hit you from angles you didn't even know were there.
Hmm.
His IQ, he can make you think you're striking, and then he takes you down. He can make you think you're wrestling, and then bop you. And it's just fighting with him or sparring with him, training with him. It makes everybody else look like that much slower. Like you're not gonna see a lot of like. I mean, maybe this guy might throw some of the similar techniques that AJ does and everything, but they're not gonna be at the same speed. He is at like the highest level of MMA, and you can't really get that experience anywhere else, really. So I feel like it's gonna help me a lot. Especially since we are the same weight class, and he is just so much faster than everybody, so much faster, so much slicker. Yeah, and I think that's like my main advantage, being able to like
Yeah.
spar with him and see those type of things. It's gonna make it makes it a lot easier to like see everything else when you're fighting other people.
Yeah, I do. I think you hit at that. It's a big advantage. It might be underlooked, but like the person that you get to be in there with, it might not be the biggest name gym, but you have a guy, like you said, in your weight class that you can, literally this guy's going to be better than everyone you're going to be fighting until, you get to a certain point. So it's like it is very valuable. Um, What exactly are you expecting in this fight? Like, do you? I know we talked about what what you are trying to go and do, but what do you expect to happen? What is your prediction for the fight?
He's a good boxer. He's
Hmm.
real scrappy. He's got a good chin. He likes to bang a lot.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I'll just kind of go in there and just be me. I have a lot of tools that I can use at my advantage, especially for this fight. A lot of different ways to win. I feel like his real kind of way to win is just to kind of like is to maybe like to point strike me. Me, I feel like I can finish on the feet. I definitely can get a finish on the ground, or I can even grind him out for 15 minutes. I've shown that through all my fights, through everything. I expect maybe like a first or second round finish.
Okay. And you're opening up the card, which I'm not exactly sure that it will be aired or not, because this year, the first fight on the card, I've like joined or I like started the live and it's like, oh, there's four fights. I'm like, wait, what? There's supposed to be five. So I
Mhm.
really do hope that they do show your fight, but if not, there will probably be a replay. Um, but yeah, so you're opening up the card and you're fighting at a catchweight. Is there any reason it's at a catchweight, or is it like short notice possibly, or did he want a catchweight, or
That's just something we both just kind of like agreed to.
okay.
No specific reason.
All right. Well, before we end, I want to give you the opportunity to shout out anyone you want to thank, any sponsors, anything like that.
I want to give a huge shout out to 5 Vitality, to New Generation Trucking, to Body Shop, and I just want to thank everybody for supporting me.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.